So today I want to give you an update on my skin cancer situation, and if you haven't seen my last video, that video was kind of hard for me to record and to upload because I just didn't want to come off as complaining, because I am grateful to have discovered the skin cancer and to have gotten it removed. So I just want to say that first. I do feel like I was botched, let's just say, in a couple of ways, and I know that a lot of you can relate to this because I've seen a lot of comments where people have had similar experiences and where they've received very little help afterwards, and that's exactly what I've experienced. So once this happened, I was pretty much just on my own. And just as a tiny bit of background information, if you're new here, welcome. I had an issue with, I've discovered that I had a lump behind my neck, and it was basal cell carcinoma, and that is a common type of skin cancer from a lot of sun exposure. Even though I wear sunscreen a lot, I feel like I probably caused it from past sun exposure, which was extensive for me at certain times in my life. Now, what I want to say, like what happened is I had a bunch of biopsies done on my back, and the doctor or nurse, she knew that at least 2 of those were just being removed for cosmetic reasons. For some reason, she chose to use very, very large punch biopsies to remove the skin cancer thing here. And when she did that, she said she had no idea what it was, which is odd because when I read the report on it, it just had all the characteristics of being basal cell carcinoma, but I am not the expert on this. So after she removed that, she did all these punch biopsies. She didn't clearly explain to me what she was doing, and I state that in my last video. So I honestly didn't know she was doing hugely gigantic punch biopsies. So even if a doctor tells you they're doing punch biopsies, most of us would just assume they're using the smallest one possible to do the removal, unless you're removing the skin cancer one, which at that time she said she wasn't even suspicious of it. So the whole thing didn't make sense to me, but okay, she used these gigantic things and then didn't inform me of all the things she was doing. So I left and was really shocked when I noticed I had these huge bandages, and I was kind of baffled by these large incisions that she did all over my back and then on my neck. That one I wasn't too concerned about though, with the skin cancer one. Now, that occurred, and she used dissolvable stitches, which are pretty well known for causing scarring problems, and that's just based on research I've read. I don't know what doctors, prefer doing. I've never, though, in my life had anybody use dissolvable stitches for something like this, and I have had other little biopsies and things done. And many years ago, I actually had 2 punch biopsies done on my neck. Those left me with no scars, no issues, and I'm pretty sure they used regular stitches that they had to remove. Basically, after she did that, I've had problems at those sites since day one of her doing those things. And part of me was wondering, like, could there have been a sanitation issue if I'm not having some type of weird reaction to the stitches? And that is something that's in my mind, but I honestly have no idea. I just know that I've had stabbing pains in all of those sites where she did it. And then on top of that, I've had incessant itching and redness around each one. And I've told them that, but nobody would help me. And they just kind of like to tell you, just wait it out, just wait it out. So now I've waited out, and it's been absolute ages since I had that done. So the other problem I had with being botched is that I had the Mohs procedure done on that site there for the skin cancer. The doctor was extremely busy. It was a very hectic situation. It was like an assembly line of people. He stitched it up really fast. He did the stitches very, very tight. It was a long running stitch. And I'm not trying to be very judgmental. I'm not a doctor. I'm not somebody who does stitches. I'm obsessed when it comes to like researching things. I love researching. I love medical studies. You'd be shocked at the amount of stuff I read, and I've seen graphic stuff. Like cadaver studies and things, and I'm not doing it to just be like gross. It's just when I'm trying to figure something out, I want to understand the whole scope of it as much as possible. So I did that. I did a lot of research with the stitches, and I watched videos and all this stuff. I feel like he just did them very sloppily and unevenly, and it led to a problem, which I shared in my last video. I will share those yucky photos here too. And so the bottom part of the skin he stitched, he pulled a lot more from one side versus the other. So it was just very uneven, plus it was very tight. And the craziest thing is they told me to remove the stitches myself. First of all, it's here. I can't see. Second of all, there was a lot going on there. That was a bit much to ask of a person who also had it back there. If it was here, okay, maybe, but still, why am I doing that? Is that safe? Is that okay for me to do? He didn't teach me anything. He didn't give me any tips about it. So I ended up having to watch YouTube videos, and my son did too. So that happened. Actually, I ended up having to get that removed, those stitches removed, an hour north of here. Even though that guy told me to do it myself, we could not do it. And so I went somewhere and had it removed. Thank goodness. But an issue occurred that I didn't share. I don't think I shared in the last video, where at that site, it had opened up to some extent, and my son could see dissolvable stitches sticking out. And you're gonna see what I'm talking about, because somehow my current scar shows that very clearly, that there was a problem with the skin. You will see. So after having these issues, I kept trying to get consultations. I had this online consultation. It was all right, but nobody seems to want to treat things, like treat them. They want to like put a band-aid on them, like literally just put some scar tape on it with some steroid cream, and it'll eventually stop driving you absolutely insane with the burning and itching. I think these doctors who do this, I don't know what's going on with them. They cannot put themselves in your place and try to understand how much something can affect your quality of life. Like just having something that is itching, a lump on my back that's itching, besides the fact that my back looks like a minefield from all the things that she did, just the itching itself was a really strong reason for me wanting to get all this fixed. So I ended up getting an appointment with a dermatologist, and I was so hopeful, you guys. I hate this when I get hopeful and then I get my heart crushed, you know, at the appointment, and it has happened time and time again. So this is terrible advice I'm about to say, but if you are like that and you're just like so hopeful this doctor's going to help you, try not to be, as terrible as that sounds, because you don't want to be super, super disappointed like I was and have been. My cat is in front of the camera. What I was trying to say is I went to him. Unfortunately, this guy was quite condescending, and he was trying to just like get me in and out as fast as possible. And so he recommended doing some steroid injections, which is a common thing if you have scar issues. I wanted him to cut these things out. I could tell, it's very apparent that for a lot of them, there's something in there that is causing extreme irritation and a histamine reaction, and I want it cut out. But he wouldn't do that, so I settled for this injection due to my being driven crazy by the itching. The second he injected it into one of the sites, it was like somebody had a knife held over a fire and then stabbed me in the back at that place where he injected it. It was such excruciating, shocking pain, so severe, like higher than level 10 pain. He didn't warn me, just did it again, even though I almost like grabbed his arm, like broke it from you. Have you ever had that where you're at an appointment and they do something to you and your automatic reaction out of pain or discomfort is to grab them? It is common, you guys. And I just, side note, I had this other thing done once at the VA where the doctor was putting a little tube down my nose and down my throat while I'm just sitting there wide awake, and he told me even before, like, don't grab my arm. So apparently it must happen all the time. And the second he did it, I grabbed his arm as hard as I could not. I hadn't let go. It was just like I could not. I needed him to stop and to get that out. That was like the worst thing I've ever had done in my entire life. I do not recommend it. They do that in order to look at something like in your throat. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just let them knock you out for a colonoscopy and have an upper endoscopy at the same time. That's my advice. Now, back to the other story. I ended up leaving that dermatologist's office after those injections, got in my car, started driving back. It was a 2-hour drive, and I had to pull over because I was having waves of excruciating level 10 stabbing pains at those sites. I almost threw up from the pain. It was so severe, and it's very unusual for me to be like that with pain. As a result, I want to warn you guys, if you're watching, what can happen if you have steroid injections. I was never warned about it, of course. Thank you, proper medical care doctor and facilities, for not giving me any information. And now I blame myself for not asking questions, but it was unexpected when I went there. I never knew that he was going to recommend it. It's my fault, should have researched it, but he should have told me also that a side effect can be extreme atrophy of the skin tissue where he's injected. And I almost recall somebody saying it gets rid of, it eats away at the fat. I don't know if it's the fat or just the skin tissue. All I know is some of the places where they did that, there is a very deep indentation. So now I have a scar that's even harder to get rid of. Now for the final update and what's going on as of now. In a few days, I'm so excited because I am going to see a plastic surgeon. I had a consultation with him and his nurse assistant. She's super sweet. And so I am going to go there, and he is going to end up cutting all these out. That was my request out of complete desperation. Just, I don't care, like, even if some of them aren't improved, like how they look, just cut them all out and we'll just try and see what happens. With the scar here, you guys, I'm gonna show you updated photos. It didn't look, okay, recently my son took photos. I wasn't even gonna have the plastic surgeon redo this one because of my son's photos that he showed me. To me, when I saw his photos, I was like, oh, I don't care, that's not bad. It's on the back of my neck, doesn't look bad anyway, no big deal. And then I asked my son to take more photos recently because I was getting ready for this appointment, and part of like this bundle of, I don't know if you want to call them excisions or incisions, the surgical procedures this guy's going to be doing, part of it, you know, included in the price was redoing this scar. So it's a scar revision. So I asked my son to take photos again because I really wanted to decide if I'm getting all this other stuff done, maybe I should just get this taken care of. But if I really don't care about how it looks, then maybe I just won't, and we'll just reduce the price a little. Maybe just get it done. I just kept changing my mind. So anyway, I had my son take more photos, and what he was telling me is that when the lighting is like super bright, it looks fine. It almost looks good. When the lighting is just normal and neutral, just regular lighting, it's starting to get really weird. And when the lighting's just a little darker, it's like, what in the world is that? What happened? So I'm going to show you all three of the photos that he took for me the other day, which he's so sweet to do that. And it changed my mind, and I'm like, oh, let's just get this done. I don't know what's going on with that, but I want to get it taken care of. I'm not trying to make a huge deal about it, but I do want to give you guys an update. That's what my channel is for. I want to share like different experiences with skincare and with health experiences. So hopefully it can be helpful for you, and hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes I've made, because I'm sure I've made so many. Now, I think that's all for this update. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and take care.